Welcome to the Grief Pod with Venetia Quick. This is a weekly podcast which looks at every aspect of something which has or will at some point affect us all. And that is grief. Whether you've lost a loved one or about to lose someone you know, or perhaps you're simply trying to help someone navigate their grief and don't know where to start or what to say, then perhaps this is the podcast for you. Each week I'll be bringing you different stories and experiences of loss, love, hope and at times humour. My guest this week is one of the longest serving actors on the, I suppose, cultural iconic soap Neighbours, having played Dr Karl Kennedy since 1994, I think. He's also a singer and a musician. Alan Fletcher, thank you for joining me.
Oh, it's a pleasure, Venetia. Lovely to be here.
Maybe you'd start, because we are going to talk in a little bit about how you act bereavement scenes and how you act scenes of grief, your relationship with the viewers and over so many years, and I guess their loss, that something that they loved is gone, and your two little dogs, Teddy and Lola. But first, would you maybe tell me a little bit about where you grew up and how that impacted, I suppose, in your life so far?
Well, I'm a Perth boy from Western Australia. That's about right across on the west coast of Australia, very long distance from the other main capital cities. So when I was growing up, it was a very simple lifestyle. It was in the 60s. It was very hedonistic. We just lived on the beach. It was all about, girlfriends and partying and having a good time, as well as studying, obviously. And acting started for me very young. I was very interested in acting from school days. Then into university, I started to... my secondary school, I was doing plays all the time, and then university I took over the Dramatic Society and ran that for 3 years, and eventually by the time I was 20 I turned professional in Perth. After about 3 years of doing lots of plays, I think I did about 21 plays, I realised I had to go to the big smoke, so I headed for Sydney. And
and where did that acting bug come from? Because it's sort of did it just sort of come from... I don't know where it came from. Or did it...
My grandfather apparently was an actor, an amateur actor, but I don't know that any of the stuff's particularly genetic. I think it's just that I was, being the second son, I think I was a little bit more... I was very outgoing, and my mum and dad made sure I was quite confident in myself. They also instilled in me a real sense of independence. I started working for my money very young. I was about 13, 14, something like that. I had my first jobs, and it was kind of expected that I would look after myself if I needed dosh.
Yeah.
So I think all that sort of stuff makes you feel quite confident about yourself and your place in the world. So acting seemed like a natural thing to do.
And did they get to see the product of, your study and your time on the stage?
Yes, they did. In fact, they came to all the plays, of course, and my dad once said to me that he was told, because he was a chemist by trade, industrial chemist, and he said to me that when I left school, my drama teacher came to him, or English teacher, and said, if your son shows any inclination to go on the stage, don't stop him. So I always wondered why my dad didn't complain about the fact that I dropped out of university to become an actor. He seemed to accept it very easily. But he told me that years later, which I thought was really lovely, that he basically said, Al will make his own way. And it worked out all right in the end.
It has. It has. In 2022, I guess, if we're talking about Neighbours, initially it was announced that it was all coming to an end. And this was something I grew up with, that everybody I would know of my generation had a favourite character or had a favourite moment, or what was that like for you, having been in the show for so long?
Well, as personally, I looked at it and went, I've had a great run. And it was everything ends. I mean, you're a rooster one day and a feather duster the next, and I'd had 31-year contracts.
Wow.
So you go, well, things have to end. If I would have been content if I'd ended.
Yeah.
But the fact that 200 other people ended as well, that really got a bit hard. And then, of course, there was the outpouring of grief from fans, and it was massive. And I spend a lot of time in contact with fans. I have a big subscriber database, and I send them messages and birthday messages and things, and they're always in contact with me. Facebook, Instagram, same deal. I answer all my messages. So I got it all, just day after day of people's grief, and it was. When I talk about it, because this is a grief podcast, when I talk about their grief, I'm not talking about, I'm really sad Neighbours is ending.
No, but this is something they lived with every day of their lives.
This is palpable, because there are many, many people who watched the show, who relied upon the show to give them a little bit of sunshine.
Or company.
Or many things. Some people are housebound or whatever. And... they were losing part of their day-to-day life. Plus, for a lot of people, it was a bonding experience. People tell me that they used to watch it with their grandma and their mum, and so it was a family experience, and it brought the family together. All those sorts of things. So it was a big deal. It wasn't just the end of a TV show. It wasn't like the Bills ending or something.
Yeah, and I suppose that must have had a huge impact on you then, because even though you're going, okay, I had a good run, then it's a whole new dimension.
Yeah, well, as soon as it ended, I actually took off with my wife and toured a show called The Doctor Will See You Now, which is my Karl Kennedy show, which had always been planned anyway. So everyone who came to that show, it became a grief session.
Wow. And what sort of things were people saying to you?
Well, very much that they relied upon Neighbours, or their whole life had been spent watching it. I mean, we're talking about 40 years of people's lives. People who've started watching it when they were like 6 years old or 5 years old, or one of the most common story was that they were actually in their mother's womb when Neighbours started, so they kind of had been watching since pre-birth.
Yeah, or heard the music.
Well, I tell you what, in all seriousness, many people have said to me that their babies would stop crying and turn towards the TV set as soon as the Neighbours theme came on.
No.
Yeah, it's for real.
Wow.
It's for real. So, I mean, the whole idea of sounds in the womb, I think, is probably right.
Yeah.
It just had people's grief related to, just that they were missing a big part of their life.
Yeah, and I think as well, because when I think back to it, and it was sort of appointment viewing, like you'd come home from school and you had to tape it on the video if you were going to miss it, and there was war if the video didn't work, or someone recorded over it or whatever. So it's a huge, I guess it brings them back to perhaps what, as you were saying, watching it with a granny or watching it with your parents, or just a part of your life.
Yeah, and people invest in the characters too. They invest in the stories. I mean, in a sense, sometimes for some people, it's a fun way to live vicariously through other characters. And to imagine a life like that. I mean, people loved the sunshine of the show. They loved the comedy in the show. The drama was pretty cool. And it wasn't maybe as dark as some of the English soaps as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's bright. I mean, EastEnders, was grey, and then you got the sunshine. And I think for a lot of people, it was the first time pre-internet, or I think that you actually maybe saw Australia.
Yes, true.
So it was like this whole other world. Like everyone wanted to move there.
And we also, the other thing that was quite exceptional about Neighbours here in Ireland and elsewhere was that the audience was from very young to quite elderly, and it was every age group. Whereas in Australia, it was young people and older people, but the people in the middle who were busy having babies and jobs, they didn't watch the show because it was on at the same time as the news and things like that. Whereas here, it had its own
5:30 at one point, so it's perfect.
Yeah.
For you, obviously, a job spanning 30 years. That's, I know it's you sort of go, okay, well, I was lucky, I got a good run, I'm an actor, to be employed for that long is great. But there's enough, when you lose a job after a very long period of time, that can be quite like a grieving process as well, because... Yeah,
but the grief, I mean... The day we ended, and they, in the studio, where everybody came in, hundreds of people, we all gave a bit of a speech. I gave a bit of a speech. You can't not choke up. It's impossible. Impossible, because you're looking at the faces of people you've worked with for a very, very long period of time, and And you are aware that for some people, the cancellation of the show has caught them on the hop, sometimes financially, their prospects in the future, they don't know what they're going to do, etc. So, you are grieving, but you're kind of grieving for them. Whereas for me, I'm sitting there sort of thinking, oh, onward and upward. This is what I've done all my life, and
now I'm going to do this.
Yeah, now I'm going to go and do something else.
Yeah, I guess as well, it's because there's been behind so many life changes, like maybe having kids and getting married and different things, maybe losing people, whatever that have happened to you. The job is sort of being the
staple.
And staple in the back. So probably that's why people find it quite difficult.
Yeah,
if that happens.
I think, and I'll find out, I suppose. This time round, now it's been cancelled again, I'll find out when I've got real downtime. But last time when it was cancelled, I had no downtime. I flew out of Australia to come to the UK straight away to do the Dr Karl show. Was busy as you could possibly imagine doing that. And then when I got back to Australia, I went, oh, great, I can have a bit of a rest. And then
started again.
They knocked on the door and said, would you be happy to come back? It was quite extraordinary.
Yeah.
So I didn't really ever have any downtime. This time round, I think, once I get home from my music tour and I'm just sitting there at home and it'll be interesting. Every day I'll get up and go,
what'll I do?
What'll I do?
Yeah. And because that is like now it's finished, and the last episode I think is in December.
It is. We filmed our last episode July 11 this year. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
When you play a character like yours, and obviously through so many years, decades, characters come and go, and there's characters that are killed off and die in a show, and for the viewer, like I still remember Daphne dying, and it took me a long time to get over poor old Daphne, but it is a lot for the actor who's playing either that part or in the scenes with the person. How do you bring that to the set?
There's a lot of different, I'll call them techniques, but that sounds a bit cold. There's a lot of different sort of emotional states that you put yourself into. A lot, and so much of it requires your relationship with the other actors on the set to be such that you kind of all communally grieve. So if everyone's feeling the grief on some level, then you can play off that and imagine it. I mean, I've been to plenty of funerals in my life, and I've cried at plenty of funerals in my life. And there's something about the nature of a funeral ceremony or a wake or anything like that that kind of triggers that. The words that are said, the script is terribly important. And
music as well.
Music, exactly. So if it's a well-written scene and what the person's saying, in the speech is great, then it'll often just trigger the tears. And you've got to put yourself in that state. You can't just act it on the surface. And of course, then the big job is, having put yourself in that state, you've got to get out of it quickly. And you've got to train yourself to sit back and discard it, but take the suit off. Because if you carry the grief home, or carry any of it home, then that can affect your home life, and it can also make you feel completely lousy. There have been times when I've had to do big scenes, big emotional scenes over a period of weeks where, they're mainly to do with, fighting with somebody or having an affair or something like that, and this enormous amount of upset going on. And you kind of take it home and you go, you feel discombobulated, you feel sort of out of sorts.
But how do you, say, for example, something's coming up, there's going to be a scene where somebody is dying and you're actually close to that person as an actor, so they're not coming back and you're not going to be working with them again, so there's that aspect, I guess, to it as well.
That is there, but I mean, the thing is, you don't really think about the fact you're not going to see them again, because you might, and also, I mean,
but you won't work with them
in that, and in the scene, they between takes, they're talking to you and they're awake, and so it's actually not. It's actually not a thing about the actor who's died or anything like that. It's actually just to do with the fact that You just got to take yourself to a place. And sometimes you have to do it really quickly because you may have a scene in one set in Harold's Cafe where you're talking to someone normally or even having a laugh, making some jokes. Then you quickly go to your dressing room, you change into your clothes, go to the hospital, and immediately you're doing a scene at someone's deathbed and you need to be sobbing. And that's a skill that you have to develop. Margot Robbie said recently in an interview that Neighbours taught her how to cry on demand.
Wow.
Because she had to do it so often. And she was brilliant at comedy, she was brilliant at drama, she was the big emotional stuff, she just, she could turn it on whenever she needed to. So your Neighbours trains you. It trains you to be able to do these things.
Is that because of the fast pace, I suppose, of a soap opera?
Totally.
That it's just... What do you draw on, though, personally?
I suppose it's really... I draw on the notion of grief. I draw on the concept of it. The notion that feeling empty, feeling... I've had some ups and downs in my life. Everybody has. So sometimes I think back to times when I felt really, really low and upset about something, and that comes back. But mostly, I think about the person, the character, not the actor, the character who's passed away, or there's a reason to be upset about that, something to do with that character. It is true to say that actors in a show like Neighbours become very close. They're like family. And so it's kind of easier because you are actually thinking about someone who is very close to you. The concept of losing someone very close to you. Yeah.
Yeah. And then to turn it off, you just have to turn it off then.
Go to the canteen and have some lunch, yeah.
It sounds all very fickle.
Well, it does. It does sound fickle, but... So I've worked with some actors who had a little bit of difficulty turning it off sometimes, and at the end of a scene, they would then actually be really, really distressed, and have to be helped. It doesn't happen very often, but it can happen, and so the employer is mindful of this sort of stuff. That that certain scenes can cause also certain scenes can cause grief for the crew.
Yeah.
People can be watching something and it's taking them to a part of their life that they, that no one else knows about. So they always put warnings on scripts, say, this scene has content that may be triggering, and please talk to such and such if you're worried, or talk later if you have any problems, etc. So you have to be very mindful. We are dealing with serious stuff here. And as you say, you're always aware too of the grief the audience are going to experience in some cases.
That was my next question, is because people get very invested in characters and very invested in perhaps the person who's playing the character.
Yeah.
So for the audience, that's sort of, when they're dead, it's like, oh.
Exactly.
What sort of duty of care do you feel to the viewer then?
I think it's
a responsibility in one way.
It is. I mean, I think for the vast majority of the audience, they have a clear understanding that this is fictional.
Yeah.
So it's really not a massive problem. But if someone messages you and sort of says, this is how I'm feeling as a result of this happening on screen, then you just carefully talk back to them and say, I appreciate that it had that impact on you, and I'm sure you are aware of the way you're feeling is because you've just witnessed some great acting, but the such and such is doing great, and they're moving on to some other things, and but thank you so much for your dedication. I mean, it doesn't happen very often, to be frank.
Yeah. From the point of view of now and Neighbours being finished and all the people that you've worked with, how has that bond stayed, I suppose, the same since you finished up working?
Well,
you're here.
Yeah. Well, I was in Hampstead doing a gig 2 nights ago, and there was 2 actors from Neighbours came to see the gig, which was really lovely. One of them I haven't seen for a very long time, and it was like it's like I saw them yesterday. I mean, the bond stays the same. You know, the relationship stays the same. It's actors are like that. They'll often not see each other for years, and then walk into the room and they can start up the conversation as if they had. But we don't sit there and sort of go, "Oh, what have you been doing?" It's like, straight away the banter starts or whatever, because it's that sort of relationship. It's like seeing your brother again after 3 years or something, you know, and you go straight into it.
Tell me about, because one of the episodes we did in this podcast was about pet grief.
Oh, yeah.
And I read that you lost your 2 dogs.
Yeah, little
Teddy and Lola.
Lola, sweet little dog. She it was during COVID, unfortunately, lockdown COVID, and my daughter came into my room around, I think, midnight, and said, "Dad, something's wrong with Lola," and she was, she was clearly in a very bad way. So I rushed her down to the veterinary hospital. I couldn't go in. In fact, I had to carry her to the door, ring the buzzer, and go and walk away because of social distancing. We spoke on the phone. They said, "Look, we'll call you as soon as we know something." So, and my darling wife was asleep because she worked on breakfast radio. So I didn't wake her. And then around about, she went to work about 4 a.m. or something silly. And then they rang me and said, "We're really sorry, but, she's terminal and she's not in a great way." And I said, "Well, should we wait until the morning when my wife can see it?" She said, "No, it's really for the dog. We should do this now." I said, "Okay, that's fine." So I didn't mention it to my wife until she came home from work, and so that made it even worse for her. She never saw Lola again, sort of thing. You know, there was a big hole. So it was actually the fact that I had to deal with all the hospital, talking to people, and I will say, I don't want to sound cold, but I will say my mother gave me a very kind of clear concept about death, because she was a spiritualist and she believed in reincarnation and so forth. And so she's always said to me when she passed, she said, "Alan, I'm still going to be here. I'm going to be here with you." And I've always hung on to that. In fact, I wrote a song about it called "Hey You," and I if I'm down in the dumps or whatever, I think of her and I think, what would Mum be saying to me now? And I imagine that she is actually still with me.
Because it is a lovely thought, I think, for most of us who've lost people. We sort of go, whether you mightn't be the most religious, you sort of go, well, they're knocking around here somewhere, or they are somewhere. Yeah,
they're, I suppose, but the way I look at it is what my mother gave me in life, which is a lot. She was a spiritual guide. Where
did that come from?
Well, she actually kind of discovered spiritualism when I was quite young. She took me to a spiritual healing group for asthma, things like that. And then when I was in senior school and kind of was independent, she moved herself and the 2 young boys to stay in a commune in the southwest of Western Australia.
Wow.
And lived there, and so forth. So she was a nurse originally, and sort of she evolved into this wonderful, peaceful, beautiful woman, And
did you go and visit? Or
of course.
Like it was open?
When I say commune, I mean it was only communal in the sense that it was kind of a non-profit.
Okay.
The local store, they ran the local store, for which any money from that went into sustaining what they were doing.
Lived off. Yeah.
But it wasn't like I don't know what it was like. Mum had seances at home sometimes and things like that.
When you were a child.
Yeah.
So what was that like?
We kind of had, the house was sort of split in half. She had her half and we had ours, and we meet in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And as I say, we were fiercely independent boys, and we were encouraged to be. And there was no sort of things about it. You didn't come home and watch TV very much. You were expected to be out until tea time.
Okay.
Go out and do things. So we did things like we had cartoon clubs we created, and we'd make strange contraptions from our bicycles and go riding around the suburbs. And we lived in the outdoors. Catching goannas and it was very rustic.
Yeah, but like what they call wholesome.
And there was no mobile phones. It was all of that. So so my mum gave me a very healthy kind of feeling about grief. So even though I'm very, very sad if I lose someone or lose a pet or something like that, I'm very sad about it. I don't let it weigh on me as much, which makes me feel sometimes like I'm a bit of a cold fish. But I think
it's more pragmatic.
I think it's to my benefit. But my wife's grief was palpable, and my daughter's. Then my second pet, Teddy, he just got very long in the tooth, and it was clear that his eyesight was badly affected. He was, he was losing his sight, and his hearing was going, and he was starting to bump into things and kind of like stumble and fall, just randomly. So eventually, I said to the family, "Look, it's time. It's right for Teddy," and. My daughter was.
It's a very hard decision.
She was. I mean, she basically said, "You're a murderer," and it was really tough. So I took him down to the thing, and I must admit that when he was there and I was stroking him, and they gave him the pre-injection, the one that just sedates, and then it was suggested I leave, and as I just looked at him, I thought, "Oh no, this is just terrible." I felt that's where I felt real sense of grief.
Do you think we need to do more in society to support people who actually lose their pets than we do?
Well, I think we need to do more in society to support people who lose anything that's precious to them. I mean, it's easy to sit back and say, it was just a dog. But it's for some people, it isn't just a dog. It's a companion and a part of their life. I think it's really important for people to be respectful and understanding about people's grief. For instance, a friend of mine lost his dog, and he was shattered. For me, I'm sitting there sort of going, well, this wouldn't be my reaction, but I treated him as though I completely related to how he was feeling, because there's no point in sitting there saying, "Oh, come on, mate, pick yourself up."
Yeah. But I suppose for a lot of people, and it's been said on here before, that there was somebody that said they actually, when their dog died, they were more devastated than when their dad died because they saw their dog every day.
Yeah.
And their dog was there every day when they came home from work.
Yeah.
They might have seen their dad once every 4 months, 5 months.
Yeah, and of course, pets generally are very compliant. I mean, they're there.
They don't talk back.
Sometimes they can misbehave, but they generally adore their owners. From the moment you walk into your house, your dog is just all over you and with love and compassion. Cats are perhaps a little more steely sometimes, but they still, come and sit next to you and purr when you pat them and so forth. I mean, my daughter's a cat person. She's got a cat. Yeah, loves her cat. So I think we just have to be very respectful and mindful of how people are feeling about their loss, and just support them any way we can.
Listen
and listen. Just listen. Listen to them express their grief.
Just finally about your music, and you were saying there about your mum, and you wrote a song for her. Was that? Did you find that cathartic? Did you find it therapeutic?
It was very therapeutic. It was because the song is actually saying, "Hey, you! I haven't seen you for a while. How you doing? How you doing? Did you find that little heaven you were looking for? And could you just send me maybe a little sign? Just give us some indication you're there." So it's kind of it's a sad song, incredibly triggering for a lot of my audience members, of course. But triggering in a good way. They sit there and go, "Oh, you've brought stuff back for me that I was worried about losing in a way." Do you know what I mean? I mean, grief is something to be dealt with, I think, but it's also the grief helps you hold the memory of what you've lost. I mean, if you had no grief, you go, "Oh, yeah, such and such."
Yeah, but isn't that what they say? You only know love when you lose.
Yes,
grieving is what
Yeah.
love is, actually.
And it's part of the human condition. I mean, we all naturally grieve. We grieve grieve losing our youthful looks. We grieve losing our physical abilities. And in some cases, of course, we have to sit there and watch people's mental states degenerate.
Yeah.
And that's enormously tough. I mean, anyone I know who's got parents who've moved into dementia or something like that, they
Well, it's living grief, isn't it?
it's living grief. So, I mean, grief is a very important part of life, and it's just an element that goes into making us human.
When you look back in your life now, you're obviously in a great place. You're enjoying your time here. You're travelling with your wife as well, which must be lovely.
It is. That's
after
actually,
all these
that's
years.
the thing that's the thing that makes it so special, and that's what helped me when Neighbours ended, because I was travelling with her. She was my interviewer in my show. So, yeah, she's my biggest support. We've been married for 35 years. We've been together for 40 years. And, we adore each other. And I get to spend almost all my time with her. So, that's... it's a terrible notion. The one thing I never let myself contemplate is the idea of life without her. That's a different thing altogether.
Yeah,
so, and you can't prepare for this stuff.
You can't.
Although there's, I think a lot of couples do this. They have a joke, sort of saying, "Well, I want to be the first to go. I don't want to live life without you." So I actually wrote a song to that nature, quite a sad song, but because I'm singing it. She said, "Oh, that's great. Thank you so much."
Yeah. Perhaps there you go a little bit. So in effect, what you're doing now is you're not going to have any regrets because you're living the life you want now together.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a bit arrogant perhaps, but when people say to me, "Have you got any regrets?" I say, "Yeah, of course I've got regrets. It's good." And it's good to have them because they actually help add up to who you are. You only learn by making mistakes. So if you've never had a regret, never made a mistake, then you sort of go, were you really paying attention?
Yeah.
Because everybody makes mistakes.
Yeah, you'd be a bit bland, I think.
Yeah, I don't know.
Alan, thank you very much for coming on and chatting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Grief Pod with Venetia Quick. You can listen on SoundCloud or wherever you get your podcasts. We also have an online community on Facebook, The Grief Pod, or on Instagram @GriefPod Series.